Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, now in our 5th season, looking into the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Benjamin Bloom and you're tuned into this, the flagship show, available each and every week on video and audio. So, for a sometimes irreverent but always informative hour or more of football conversation, make your Monday a Blue Monday. Dave, I'm worried about you today. I think you're going to be trouble.
Well, I think you've been a bit eggy so far, haven't you? Just pissing about with my mouthpiece, and frankly, I don't really like it. But look, is that okay for you
now? I love it.
Or...
Like as soon as you did the introduction, he stood up. It's like he's off. He's gone.
How is it? Is it all right?
All I'm saying, Dave, is if we don't get the audio right, people complain. They say, "Oh, Ben made himself too loud and Dave was scratchy."
Okay, well, I'm always scratchy, aren't I?
And then they turn it up in their car. And I don't say anything for no, that's not true. I don't say anything for 4 seconds, and then I come in really loud. Hi, Richard.
Morning, mate.
Hi, Rich.
Yeah, and then that's like the host's problem, isn't it, as well? And I forgot that's you as well, because as soon as you move off the podcast and go on to music, the volume is. I've turned the volume in the car up, and the music is stupid, crazy loud as well. So we feel your pain out there in Podland, but look at what we've got to work with.
I think you're right.
Do.
I think it's
Damned if you
Technology.
don't. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. Global warming is properly kicking in this winter of 2020, and Ipswich Town won a game. So we're going to be very happy. And someone, Richard, who also may be quite happy to have driven his car up to Bolton and gone and joined on up there. We got Dave's thoughts on Toto last time out. He's gone on loan to Bolton, obviously League One rivals, League One colleagues, we'll call them, at the until the end of the season.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about this move from Toto's point of view, how you see it panning out in the future. Is he done with Ipswich? Could we see him again? And Lambert's quote was something to the effect of, I think his confidence has gone and he needs to go someplace else. Your thoughts on Toto to Bolton, Richard?
It was interesting you said he's got in his car. I saw on Twitter many people were quite happy to drive him up there as well. So if he's done that himself, he could have saved himself the petrol. Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise. I think the fact it happened quite quickly after the Exeter game is probably telling as well. I think that's probably maybe the last straw, but he needs it, doesn't it? And we often see that sometimes players are just not a fit, or there's a bit of a fall off in confidence or form, and Toto totally feels that, is the example of that. It's a shame, really, but you did it last week, the sliding doors moments, Dave, about the pre-season stuff, and it just doesn't seem to have got it back on track after ended the season last year quite well, didn't he? But he's always a little bit of feels like a risky player, isn't he? He feels like he's kind of, his brain's working slightly differently to his body, and maybe he needs games at lesser, there's lesser pressure at Bolton, isn't it? If they stay up, brilliant for them, but at the moment it's about getting a bit of pride back. So if he plays, if he does well for them, great. He probably won't sign for them if they go down, but he might get himself another gig in League One. I'm not sure he's got a future with us, I'll be honest.
No, I think you're right. He played yesterday, played full 90 yesterday. Yeah.
How do you see it panning out for him at the end of the season, Dave?
No, I don't think he's got a future here at all. No, I think, and I know there's a lot being said over the last few days about him getting panned on, worse and worse on social media, which, look, it's got, let's face it, no bearing. But when it gets to that point, I think it just got personal. And I don't think he's got a future with us. I mean, I think significantly, as you would expect anyway, it seemed like the manager was going to try and get someone in on loan straight away. I think the young lad from Everton, but apparently he's not full. Not for loan at this moment in time.
Let's go on to that then, Dave. Excuse me, I went a bit Kevin and Perry there, didn't I?
Yeah,
that was fun. Lewis Gibson. Right, Dave. Am I being a dick? This doesn't feel very creative, having had Garbutt, Connolly, Pennington. Was there the other guy, Grant, as well? Yeah. Does it feel a little bit like, we need a player? We don't specifically have a a set idea who or what we want. Let's phone Everton and see who they've got available.
I'm trying to think back and when we last did any significant business with Everton. Was it who went over? Did Marcus Bent go from Ipswich to Everton?
Did Klaus Thompson go to Everton?
Klaus Thompson certainly did. Klaus Thompson certainly did. Bent, I can't recall.
Bent had so many clubs.
But it's you're right. Thinking of it, I didn't really give it that much thought, but it's a bit odd, isn't it? But I don't know. Is there any? I've no idea. And our backroom staff, is there any strong Everton connection there? I've no idea. I wouldn't.
I think it was Joe Royal, the other end, wasn't it?
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah, Royal, the other end, maybe.
He doesn't do that job anymore, does he?
I don't think he does.
The links obviously continue. But more generally, Dave, it would be a borrowed young guy, presumably as a fourth centre back, as backup for the three guys that played.
You would
yesterday.
think so. I mean, there was sort. I saw it on one or two of the tweets upcoming this morning and spoken about yesterday. I personally think at that level that as cover, Cole Skews can do a job back there and probably would be his best position right now for if he is going to play. But it wouldn't surprise me if we were trying to get in an actual centre back cover. So I don't think there's a lot.
Is that kind of needs must? It doesn't matter that it's a lone player if you kind of sent one out on the basis that he's a bit shot. You just need a body in, yeah.
Yeah, especially if we're going to persist with the three at the back as well, because I think at the moment, due to injuries, we've only got 3 fit centre backs anyway. Am I missing anyone? I'm not sure I am. And I think Dave said it. I think Lee O'Neill said that loan's not going to happen now that Lewis, what's his face?
Right.
So there's another option that's needed there. Lambert was quite quick to tell everyone that we're being stupid for wanting Tommy Smith back. That isn't going to happen. Leave it. Let it go. That's 2016.
I agree. It's such an easy,
we do need another body. Yeah.
Dave does this thing sometimes, Rich, where he goes, "Move on."
Leave it.
I think you're right. Yeah.
If he doesn't like what I'm talking about, he'll just shut up and go, "Move on."
Yeah, just draw a line. I agree. Move on. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Bit more aggressive.
Move on.
There you go. There it is.
Dave,
I'll clip that one. Someone who I suppose a lot of people won't want to move on is Luke Wolfenden. The Daily Mail have reported that Premier League darling Sheffield United, famed for playing 3 centre backs, are interested in Luke Wolfenden. Look, no one wants him to go, but how much would be the right price? I did a cursory little bit of research, just typed in League One record sales. Ademola Lookman, which I'm not really classing as because he actually never
played to Everton.
Yeah, he just got relegated and then went off to Everton. Never played in League One. Fabian Delph, which years ago was Leeds to Villa for 8 million. What my point is that players don't leave League One for gargantuan amounts of money, even to Premier League teams.
They don't. What was interesting, did you see the Quest, the EFL show last night? That they had Richie Wellens on, who obviously had him at Swindon last year, and he talked him up.
Didn't know.
That's quite good. He talked him up quite well on there with Colin last night. He talked him up really well. Look, good player, and Sheffield United. I mean, looking at his performance yesterday, and obviously we'll get to that as the pod evolves this morning. Yeah, you'd have thought they might have thrown another 7 figures at him after his performance.
What's your number though, Dave? What if he goes? What number are you happy?
2, maybe. I'm not happy with. Realistically, are we going to get more than young player? Are we going to get really more than 2 million, a couple of million for him at this stage? Really? You'd like to see. I don't know, 3 or 4 million as much as possible, but I just don't see it. What do you think, Rich, on that?
I mean, there's 2 fees, isn't there? There's what would we accept as fans, and what is the market rate? I think you're right. Yeah. In the market, he's probably a £2 million player, isn't he? I think
you'd want 5.
If we accepted less than 5, I think most people would be peed off, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. There's no need for us to sell in January. There's no need for Sheffield United to buy him in January, frankly, either. So wait for us to be a bit more desperate to get money in the door when we don't go up in the summer, and get him then.
I mean, for me,
from Sheffield United, Rich, is there are teams that plan more than one transfer window ahead, unlike the team that we all support. And I guess the idea would be they would take him. You'd think they'd loan him into the Championship, wouldn't you? And say,
well, you
go
take
on.
him punt now before other. There's a queue starting to form. They're not the only ones watching him. And I guess it's you get in there first, isn't it? And that's why you'd sign him in January. But I would only sell him with the loan back in January, if that makes sense.
I really appreciated yesterday. All right, yesterday perhaps he wasn't up against the strongest opposition. But he's a class player. He's very, very good, and he's going to develop and get. He's going to develop and get better. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, more of interest to me. I don't know if you were going to touch on it, Ben. Sorry if I've stolen your thunder. Was a situation with Bart this week, which was another odd, typical Ips. If that's correct, or you leave. Is that a question? I don't know.
No, we'll go on to it in just a second. I was just going to say we've said on the pod numerous times. We kind of know where we are, and our position, I think we all agree, is selling isn't always a bad thing, but selling and replacing with less than 30% of what you make is the so. And I think we've also said many, many times, sell to the Premier League from the Championship, and you make decent money. We've always, Webster to Bristol City and Waghorn to Derby, and we never managed to sell to the Premier League and pull in that massive fee. So it would be nice if these boys are going to go to try and do it from the Championship, right?
Probably not since Connor Wickham, I guess.
Exactly, and look at the fee, or Mings as well.
Yeah, Mings, of course. Yeah.
Look at the fees then. Rich, it's nearly half that Waghorn went to Derby for, isn't it? So,
well, you spoke about this before, Ben, as well. Who's the next player on the conveyor belt that comes in and can do what Wolfenden can do for us at the moment? Or anywhere close to that? There's no one that maybe Joe's the person to ask.
Joe would know.
But who's the next Wolfenden?
Well, they're not going to be ready, Rich.
Well, exactly right. So why? So that's another risk in us.
There was big talk. There was big talk last year, and he was supposed to get his debut and didn't. And apparently, I don't know whether his attitude or something. This Corrie and Darben, wasn't he? Yeah. But he seems to have just.
I always kind of agree with you, Dave, that the cream rises, and if that was happening, that would have happened.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Wolfenden, seeing from that vantage point yesterday, from where I usually sit to where I sat yesterday, good player. He's pretty much got the lot, I think. But look, difficult to assess perhaps overall yesterday and quality of opposition. But if he develops as he has developed this season, first season at that level, that sort of first team level, playing at that sort of level, could be.
So you want to talk about some Bart fun and games? Obviously, the story. So the story with Bart. I'll set you up, Dave. So the new contract. We think very high numbers. Season before last at the start, Birmingham came in. We think Bart's agent. There was a bit of chitter chatter. We think allegedly Bart was lowballed by the club, and then kind of got what he wanted at the end when they agitated for the move.
Yeah.
Paul Hurst comes in. What happens. He has a dreadful season. He's now a liability on the balance sheet because of the contract. No, it's a complete disaster, isn't it? So we're down in League One with this expensive goalkeeper. We have Millwall come in the summer. The permanent deal's agreed, and they kind of weasel their way out of it. Don't really want to go through with it because of the medical. A loan deal is done. He's gone to Millwall. He's playing very, very well at Millwall. Back to where he is. And I think, Dave, your contention is going to be the date of the recall clause being if this is the transfer.
I'm sorry, if this is correct. I mean, someone surely should be for the high jumps. So it seems that it's almost an administrative thing that we had a certain, within his loan deal, within his loan contract, there was he could be recalled in January, but after a certain point in January, if we hadn't recalled him. And it was the 8th, was it?
That was reported by Andy in the paper as well.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the 8th. Okay. And
if
we hadn't made any contact, hadn't had many overtures, or hadn't done the deal to recall him, then that's it. And obviously it passed by. As Ben quite rightly said, he's probably he's our most saleable asset, but of the one of the saleable assets that we have got, he would be the most likely one to go. We've got cover for. Admittedly, personally, I don't think either is as good, but and then because of this administrative cock-up, it seems to be internally, we've missed the boat on him. I don't know. Sort of typical. Just sums up typical Ipswich to me, really. Typical club, but just an odd. I've never heard of anything quite like that before.
Well, and Rich,
but who knows? But again, who knows? Were we? Again, it's all conjecture, isn't it? We don't know the full background, but yeah, quite odd.
Well, Lambert suggested that the discussion of a permanent deal to Millwall was still happening anyway.
Oh, that's happening. But
So,
Rich, it's a total buyers market now for Millwall.
Yeah, we've just shot. Cardiff were in, Blackburn were
Absolutely.
in. Yeah, we've just
shot ourselves.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and it's typical us as well. And that's the
just crazy. I spoke to a Millwall fan who I know quite well on Friday, and he loves him. They love him. And he does actually say what we've said. He can see why he hasn't played at a higher level Prem, because he said perhaps his decision making sometimes coming for crosses, and he's not. He said he's got a good kick on him, but he's not the best with his feet, But he said as a shot stopper, they absolutely, as we all do, absolutely love him.
Yeah, and it was just getting the mojo back, and I remember going to Forest and. It's like he'd made the mistake before he even walked out on the pitch, and then palmed one straight back to ground.
Oh God, he had a lot of that, didn't he? But as I said, I know his kids. He's fairly local. I know his kids go to school where my wife works and stuff like that, and they seem really happy, really settled. He's always said that, and I know there was talk of a mooted move to Blackburn. I think perhaps I just couldn't see that. So I guess Millwall just suits
you've got that contract. You can kind of pick and choose where you go.
Well, you can, Ben, and I think you're dead right. We're so shot ourselves in the foot, and Millwall can. Well, yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens there.
I think that'll be done before the end of the window, won't it? That'll be arranged for, even if it's a,
but again, that could be there could be some up in arms about that. That could be derisory, but we'll see.
Yeah. There you go. Rich, I know you've had a look at this, but our beloved owner Marcus Evans has spoken again in his programme notes. We normally get they're quite good at feeding us out. We normally get a hint on the Friday, don't we, of what's going to be said, and they drip a little bit out. They don't do it at 6 a.m. in the morning like they have done a couple of times. But Rich, what were your thoughts on the latest Evans address?
I mean, I'm gonna have to set my stall out straight away. I'm really cynical when it comes to this kind of stuff, and maybe it's because I work in a kind of corporate environment, so I'm used to companies trying to put out PR and stuff. Exactly, synergies, blue sky thinking. That's my world.
Run that one up the flagpole.
And seriously, fry that one in the think walk. So I'm used to kind of that.
Think walk, love
fry
that.
it up in the think walk.
Move on from the think walk.
Fry it up in the think walk.
That's done.
I think both Dave, I, and all the listeners want to hear more about the think walk.
By the way, where is the think walk at where you work?
Going to chuck a few things in the fry.
Yeah, just toss it around.
Up in the think walk. No.
Bit of soy sauce.
I use that one every day.
Bit of soy sauce.
I don't.
I love it. Love that.
Marcus Evans. Let's talk about him and his think walk. No.
Well, we're done, so you better talk for the next week.
So my point is that I find these like
think walk.
Well, we were just listing these cliches, guys. Come on, I just thought I'd chuck one in there. I've got many more. Don't worry about that.
Carry on.
Go on.
Yeah, so I'm quite cynical when it comes to these, and so my problem with this is he talks too much about football. That is not his job to tell us about how he wants us to become a footballing team, which is
use that word a lot.
Not a verb, is it? Let's be honest. He's making up words there, I think if it was an attempt to justify the 5-year contract for Lambert, I don't think it does that. It maybe justifies an extension for maybe a couple of years or 3 years, but if he's working on his 5-year plan thing, there's not a huge amount of concrete evidence to suggest that there's anything more than we want to play better football, we want to bring through the youth players, we want to use the loan system strategically, blah blah blah. We've heard this stuff before, and partly I'm cynical because of the language that's used. He uses first names rather, like when it's Idris, I think that's fine, but Lee and Ryan and Paul, I just don't like that as a person. I just find it a little bit condescending, a little bit patronising, but I don't think there was anything new in there apart from they're going to clean the Sir Bobby Robson stand roof. That's exciting, and invest a little bit more in Playford Road, but I don't think there was anything there for me to justify giving Lambert 5 years, and I don't think I was reassured anymore. Albeit, yesterday kind of puts things back in context, doesn't it? Because yesterday was the perfect type of performance to kind of say to for Marcus Evans to go, I told you so. That's what we're trying to do. If we'd lost yesterday, I think it would have been even worse. But we didn't. If there's tangible evidence on the pitch, Ben, then these words are useful. Until then, to me, it's just PR, it's spin. And I know that you hate that. You're not thinking of the whole pie, Ben. You got to think about, the guys in the warehouse. Sorry, cool. That's it. Rant over.
Crap.
Yeah, he just gives it a wide berth every time Evans speaks.
That's the quicker way to do it.
Honestly, I mean, why? What is the point? I mean, and for him to then, obviously, he hasn't written it as he's probably Leo Neal, whatever, but to go into great verse about technical football, and we want to get away from this physical reproach. He almost stopped short of saying after the manager had before last sort of thing. You just don't buy it, do you? 5-year plan? What 5-year plan to get out of League One? What? I don't buy it. Sorry, don't buy it. Spin.
And I think the other thing is, like, Twitter
got more spin and Monty Python.
Twitter didn't buy into it either. I haven't seen. I think maybe one or two reactions of like, oh, it's good that he's spoken and stuff like that. But most people aren't buying it, and this is the trouble: is most football fans now are a little bit more educated about stuff like XG and XA and percentage stats, because there's so much of it now on even the Sky Sports app. You've got the stats, haven't you, for each match? And if Evans wants to come out and try and chat football, which he's said in the past. I think Stat put a video out there. He's not any better qualified to speak about football than the three of us or anyone else. So maybe get Leo Neal to talk about our footballing philosophy and our strategy there.
And he speaks
talk
well.
Talk specific. Like, I want possession above 60% for every home game. I want us to be creating, 10 clear-cut chances. XG of 2 every match. That is something that people at least is tangible. But all we get is like generalised words, generalisations and approximations and principles and stuff like that. I'm bored of that. I've had 10 years, whatever it is, of Evans ownership, where we've just had platitudes. I want results, guys. I don't know about you. Results. Show me results.
Duck bill platitudes. He needs to get back to the think walk, doesn't he, Rich? He really does.
He needs to refry that statement in the think walk.
Refry that duck-billed platitude. Yeah, brilliant.
Honestly, it's no.
Well, should we talk about Accrington?
No, should we mention Jordan Roberts? We haven't mentioned Jordan Roberts.
Go on then.
Jordan Roberts gone to Gillingham.
He won't be back.
Carry on.
We've played Gillingham twice, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. I think he played 80 minutes.
And if you count the EFL trophy, he
played 80 minutes. Apparently, really rated by Steve Evans. There you go.
Steve Evans knows his onions and his burgers and
Steve
his
knows.
Throw them all in the thing with a bit of duck-billed platitude. Steve Evans will eat the lot of it. Move on. Accrington. Just quickly, owner Andy Holt, I retweeted this from our account yesterday, tweeted, he's incredibly proud our club is mixing with great clubs like this. And Ipswich is a great club. I remember them watching them on the telly that we put Tanners in as a lad. We've earned it. Great for Andy and his club, but Dave said this a couple of times on the last pod. We're playing a league game against Accrington Stanley.
Yeah. 2 ways, isn't it?
It works 2 ways.
Never thought I'd see it. Never, ever, ever.
But did you think they were a bit overawed? Sorry, just quickly, Ben. Did you think? I felt they were a little bit overawed yesterday. Maybe they made too much of it. I think they were. Craig said they had some coaching staff taking photos of the stadium and that kind of stuff after the warm-ups and stuff.
Like League One players do when they play in the playoff final in Wembley.
Wembley, exactly right. It felt like.
Have they played at Sunderland yet? They could get beat 12. Have they played there?
I'm not sure.
Maybe they won. They probably did. I remember.
So we all know the form going into it really poor in the league. It was 5 draws and 3 defeats in the previous 8. No wins. Prior to that, it had been 10 wins in 15. So real swing in all competitions. 1 win in 12, although some would debate that win was actually a draw because it was won on penalties at Peterborough in the EFL Trophy. Stanley, 4 wins in their previous 7. So the better team in terms of the points per game over recent times. And, gentlemen, an unchanged team. So we have the same system. We have the same players. But remember, systems do not win games. Norris in goal. Wolfenden, Wilson, Chambers are the centre-halves. Garbutt, Edwards, the wing-backs. Hughes and Downs in the centre of midfield. Judge, 10 or wherever. You'll let me know where he ended up going yesterday. Jackson and Norwood up top. Stanley line up. Bursic, Apoku, Johnson, Sykes, Hughes, the back four. Tight midfield as always with Coleman, Keneally, Carvalho, Pritchard. Finley off a front two of Charles and Bishop, who did the damage last time. Unchanged team, Dave.
Claxon. I think it should be unchanged team Claxon. It should be like a air raid warning. Yeah, incredible, amazing. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, good. I mean, liked it. Like the seeing a lineup, seeing how obviously an unchanged lineup. Hughes and Downs in midfield, bit of strength in there like that. We've always said that Judge is best in that free role. Was unsure at the start of Norwood and Jackson. Perhaps Keane had been in probably good goal scoring form. One worrying aspect of that, out of the 18, no Freddie Sears. Has anyone read or heard or seen anything that comment about that? Whether there is
walking into the ground.
Was he?
Yeah,
okay.
Craig did that. Yeah.
Oh, he did he? So well, okay. So you'd hope no reaction and perhaps just saving him for the squad for quite a big game coming up midweek. Yeah, nothing not to like. Question mark Norris in goal. I fully expected, given his keeper rotation in recent weeks, that perhaps Holy would be back in after perhaps Norris not covering himself both at Lincoln and at Exeter last week, but went with Norris.
Rich, are you kind of echoing that on the teams? There's been a lot of whining and whinging about rotation and changing stuff. Do we have to be happy now if he's keeping the same team?
Wickham was not a bad performance. I'm not going to pretend it was an epic performance of any, but at least it seemed to work. And the configuration we talked about as well, we like the two up front. We need Judge in a position where he's not.
He does.
He needs the kind of 10 position. I quite like how we switched it at Wickham quite early. Wilson moved into the middle. I quite like how that three works. Wilson's kind of sat deeper than Wolfenden and Chambers and just mops up stuff. And against teams like Accrington, that's going to work quite well. And to my own credit, I'm going to pat myself in the back. I predicted an unchanged team in the pub 5 minutes before the teams came out, so I was quite smug after everyone else called all kinds of random forfeits. I tweeted it after the event. It was there was.
It doesn't count.
I know.
Got no evidence.
I'm mentioning it. I've got anecdotal evidence in the people. But yeah, there was a lot of think what frying for the teams. I'm quite happy that I plucked.
So I'm just looking back on WhatsApp. Did Rich post that yesterday?
He did.
But just to put it in context, what are the form teams in the division yesterday? Coventry. Coventry. 5 games in a row without rotating, without any changes. So it shows you that maybe at this level, you can, as long as your players are fit, that it's a sensible thing to do. And again, supporters, we know nothing, blah blah blah. We've been asking for an unchanged team forever, and suddenly we've gone from a fairly solid performance against Wickham to a pretty dominant performance against Accrington. So, #just saying.
And the domination starts, Dave, on 12 minutes. Caden Jackson is going to open the score in his 8th of the season, first goal since Southend on the 26th of October.
It had been a bit of a scrappy start, hadn't it? I mean, I don't think we'd threatened much. I think Jackson had one run where he'd sort of pulled a cross back, but didn't really pull the ball back. Didn't really lead to anything.
Epic dive by was it Charles? Dion Charles. He fell over looking for a penalty. That was should have been a
nothing in that really, and there was nothing in it. So this was a bit totally unexpected. Hughes picks a ball up in central midfield. I mean, I thought he played probably his best game, I think, since he's returned. The full fitness. Picks out Garber, who was ever available yesterday wide, and this is the first sort of manifestation of it really. Wolfenden just powers through from a position of wide centre back. Really continues his run, and what I've got to say, the weight of the pass from Garber just makes the goal. Basically takes 2 defenders out. Really good from Wolfenden because he gets in a really good position, unlike perhaps some of our more forward wide players. Gets his head up, superb ball across the bisects a 6-yard box. Tap in from Jackson from 3 yards. Perhaps the other Okpong or Acapulco perhaps gets a bit on it, but no.
If you stay too long.
I think that's why I seen him after that. I think good for Jackson. Eight and an early-ish goal. 12th minute early goal. We get the first goal at home for once.
Wolfenden's
really,
not
really
right-footed, not left-footed either.
No, and it's really good. That just shows his quality, really. As like I said, he didn't panic. We've seen it this season. A lot of players get in that position, absolutely hammer it. Jackson occasionally hammer it across the box, but nice ball in a good area, and Jackson was there. And you're right, first goal since end of October.
I thought it was Downs. I'm standing at the north stand, the opposite end, and I thought that was Downs. To see it was Wolfenden. But if you watched it, I didn't see it at the time, obviously, but you watched the video back. As soon as Hughes plays the ball to Garbutt, Wolfenden is on his bike. He's gone. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's the kind of instinct you'd expect from a midfielder or a striker. It was brilliant.
It's Basham like Ben.
Dave said in the little thing we did in the midweek, wouldn't it be great just to get a convincing, comfortable win? And Rich, we're going to go 2-0 up. 29, Norwood is going to put us 2-0 up. 10th of the season from Norwood in 1,621 minutes. So he is better than a goal every other game, despite maybe some dips and some missed chances, etc.
Well,
take us through this goal.
Well, this is a sandwich of missed chances for Norwood, because I think there was an early one where he missed
an air shot.
After this one, after the second goal, he absolutely shanks one from the middle of the goal where he should just slam it into the net.
But before this one, there's a deep cross comes over. Edwards heads it down, and he's got a volley from 8 yards.
Yeah, he totally
misses it. Air shot, completely misses it.
And he joked about this on Twitter. At least he's in the positions. But he does feel like, albeit his scoring record is great, he needs some chances to finally convert one.
What makes me laugh with Norwood, sort of workman blaming his tools. Ever he has a bad miss, so he looks back at his boot, gets mud off his mud on the bottom of his boots, wasn't it? Yeah, that's
the keeper did that.
Self-preservation.
Keeper was doing crap kicks second off. He kept looking at his boots. It's not your boots, mate. Don't worry.
Not you.
So Hughes is involved again in this one. It's it's kind of a little bit messy. The ball's kind of bouncing around.
Does he mean this pass, Richard?
I think he does, because it's a side foot volley pass.
I think he puts it in an area. Yeah,
he puts it in an area. I'm not. I'm not.
Right foot.
It's a lot. I think it's a nicely weighted pass. I think it's speculative. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And Norwood makes it. It's a straight race with. I'm sorry, I've just got Alan Brazil straight race between him and Brown. It's Hughes. I think it is.
He was hapless. That Hughes. Can I just say that number 3 first half was.
Mark
I can only
Hughes.
describe his performance as hapless.
Oh, he's played
and his name is Mark Hughes.
For them, hasn't he?
Hapless.
Bertsic has his kind of Norris moment here, because he kind of gallops to the edge of his area, and just as Norwood makes his mind up to dink it, he changes his mind and starts to backpedal. It's too late at that point.
No.
And it's a lovely finish from Norwood. He lifts it over, lovely. It's kind of into the kind of corner of the side and the back of the net. It's kind of Finidi-esque is what I've heard. I kind of thought it's more kind of the Tyler Walker-esque from the Lincoln game, because the keeper has made the decision for Norwood, I think, there. But it's a lovely finish. But in the context of the 2 chances that he's had either side of it, it's just frustrated that he can net this one, and he's in front of the goal for the other 2, and he can't find the target. But
because this one was probably all right. The keeper's kind of makes it easy for him, because he stops and then he's so far off his line. But he's still in his stride. He's still got to lift it over. And considering the one he'd missed before, and the one he was it was a good finish. And 10, as Ben said, 10 league goals as well, I assume.
10 league goals in 19 starts. 1,621 minutes.
Great. I mean, when you think he's been quite wasteful with some 1-on-1s, my God, he could be. He could be high teens by now, couldn't he? Because he has missed some gilt-edged chances.
The Greyhound could be given away. There's Norwood naturals.
We haven't been creating.
No, we haven't really. No.
But what we saw, in this game, I think, is Norwood's pace. Actually, I think we underestimate how quick he is. Obviously, we know Jackson's quick, but Norwood, it's his running here that wins this chance, and makes it so easy for him, because he's got so much time. And I think we saw that quite a few times yesterday. Norwood kind of galloping. I'm going to use the word again, Dave. Galloping onto stuff. He's quick.
Can we all just agree that Vanidi's goal was in a different league to that one?
The build-up is exceptional.
It was on the ground.
Marcus Ben was
wider.
It was in
Mark
the Premier.
Poom, he's closer. The ball's on the ground. But I take the point. It was
a one touch, wasn't it? Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, it's a ridiculous goal for Needies. Yeah.
Go on, Dave.
Do we think Sorensen would have been in goal for that?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, Pooh. Yeah.
He was even taller.
Boom. Oh,
I
good
think
point.
so. I could be wrong about that.
No, I think you're probably right.
I'm sure Twitter will tell me when I am wrong.
Yeah, no, Dave, you twat. It was Jim Montgomery. Sorry,
David, 3-0 before half-time and a first league goal for Alan Judge and another assist from a centre-half.
Forget. I mean, I've just put... I made a note of this guy. I've just put Christ Chambers, exclamation mark. I mean, it was... So Chambers actually gets the ball sort of central position, midfield, I think probably just in their half. Clips a left-footed ball wide to Norwood. And this is where Norwood's quite good, very good. But then Chambers, very much similar run to Wolfenden, some 20 minutes before, continues his run. So normally you'd see Chambers, ball, left foot. Hang on, he successfully picked out a pass to Norwood, probably thinking, yeah, okay, that's it. Let's say, continues his run to the box. Norwood, again, very good ball, clever. Sort of clips in a lovely little ball to Chambers. I'd love to say, I think he does mean it. It's sort of like a deft touch to the on support running, obviously Judge from that 10 roll. So Chambers a little touch, only about a couple of feet, touch back, kills the ball. First touch from Judge going across the box, takes it away from the defender, just strokes it past the keeper. It's a ridiculously good goal. And Chambers, well, yeah, quite rightly takes a lot of the plaudits for that because it was, great bit of play. Never thought he'd capable of it, but yeah, great to see.
And 3-0 at half-time. Exactly.
3-0 at half-time,
exactly what you need when you don't play well. Yeah.
By that time, the the similarities with the Sheffield United tweets were coming through and stuff like that for the centre backs' involvement in both goals. But yeah, amazing goal and good for Judge. Judge. I think Hughes and Judge are their best games yesterday.
But that's your Dave. That's your front two have both scored and your number 10 has scored as well. And the issue, I think the shot count, Rich, was 15 yesterday with 7 on target. Good teams create that many shots on goal, and
we haven't been doing that either, have we? I mean,
it's something we've not been doing at all, is it?
One shot for Accrington, and that was on the stroke of half time as well. So, in terms of 45,
the shot count for the whole game.
But even at half time, I think it was something like 10. I think we certainly. I was about to say that it's another one of these kind of 2-half performances. Spoiler alert, where I guess we don't need to be as good or as intent in an attacking sense in the second half as we did in the first, but that is Accrington. I said it before, maybe looked a little bit overawed. Certainly they didn't get into the game at all in the early 12-minute goal. Heads seemed to go straight away. So that's more about them, but for us it was weird to see it. It was and we kind of joked about the Sheffield United overlapping centre backs. Isn't it funny how Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher only just sussed out having not watched Sheffield United in the EFL for 2 years or whatever. But Lambert went off to see Sheffield United v FC Fylde. We assumed it was because he was scouting players, either Danny Rowe or Leon Clark. It turns out he was scouting Sheffield United and nicking their tactics.
A light bulb moment.
Can I be a complete pedant with my championship head on?
Go on then.
Neither of those goals were examples of centre-backs overlapping. The way Sheffield United did it...
They were just bombing forward, weren't they?
Yeah, they were just bombing forward from a centre-half position. Fine. The way Sheffield United very deliberately over 2 years have built up a triangle where the wing-back and the centre midfielder come in, the two forwards are in, and the centre-half goes round the outside. Yeah. That's overlapping centre-backs. But I did see this on Twitter, and I wanted to ask you two, did we really do that? Because it took Sheffield United a good couple
point
of years.
It's a good point. I'd say perhaps Wolfenden was a better example.
Yeah.
Was a better example of that, probably. Yeah.
He's kind of underlapped.
We were all there, weren't we? Jack O'Connell for Scott Hogan against us, and a couple of weeks before Basham for Dowell, right round the outside. But look, I love our centre backs to bomb forward. And the interesting thing is, we actually under Burley, here I go on a Burley thing. We actually played with really high outside centre backs under Burley. They never went past the wing backs though. It was always Venus would get to that quadrant to cross, so, and then McGreal started doing it to balance it up. So we've played with very high wide centre backs before, but hey, if it's something that's going to come in, but please, Ipswich fans, don't tell the world we're playing with overlapping centre backs when Sheffield United have been so amazing doing that for 2 years. Anyway, that's my tactical pedantry. Let's go into the second half because I'm rambling now. A little bit of a tail off. We get Skews in for Hughes on 71, Bishop for Judge 75, Keane for Jackson on 77, and Accrington are going to get a goal back on 86. This is yours, isn't it, Richard? Just talk to me a bit about the second half, and was there a sense of tail off, and go over the penalty?
I think we started the second half again with similar intensity to how we finished it. We just didn't create a huge amount of chances, I think, and then it started to settle down a bit, and clearly I think we were quite satisfied with the 3-goal cushion. There's another miss for Norwood. Garbutt crosses in, Norwood's kind of just at the far post, and he doesn't get his header on target. He kind of his technique for heading is quite strange. I don't know if he closes his eyes or whatever, but his head is facing in the direction where the ball is going to go, and he's always looking away from the goal, so he invariably heads it wide. I don't know whether David agrees with this. To me, the subs kind of were needed. I think there's a criticism that the subs have come a little bit too late, but as soon as Scouse came in, to me, for Hughes, is it Scouse for Hughes? Yeah.
I think so.
We seem to lose any kind of zip and intensity to the midfield. And when we desperately needed, there was a point, kind of 80 minutes, where the game started to tip and Accrington started to go for it, and we were starting to get more and more deep, when actually we needed someone just to be able to unlock a pass and get us up the pitch. And Scouse is not that, and I think yesterday to me showed it, the limitations maybe in this system of Scouse, particularly in midfield. I think we I'm not going to blame him for the goal. It's nothing to do with him, but at that point you kind of want us to at least just see it out with a bit more comfortableness, and we didn't. Right.
We lost some impetus there. There was a call on the phone in on Radio Suffolk. It did a good 5 minutes on that, moaning it, And you're right, Rich. I think you're right. The subs had to be made, but it was perhaps the personnel that came on.
Bring on
Dazelle. Perhaps you'd have liked to have seen a Dazelle. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about the goal?
Yeah, so the goal is, I think maybe if it's earlier in the match, I think there's a little bit more people a bit more pissed off about this, because it's a long punt up the pitch by Johnson's flicked on by Charles, I think it is again, and Zanzali's just trying to get a boot to the ball. I think he probably gets there first, there or thereabouts, and Wilson just blocks him, and he goes down, and I think probably it's probably a penalty. It's a little bit soft, I think, and maybe we'd have Wilson can't really do much to me, but
concentration, Rich, as well.
He's ball watching. Wilson again, my pet hate. Wilson's ball watching, not the player. The player just blindsides him, and he catches him late. I think it's a penalty.
And Zanzala does well to get a boot on the ball. I think that's what makes it a penalty. There's a nice kind of one of these ones where three players are kind of having an argument over who takes the penalty, which was quite fun.
Yeah,
for about 30 seconds.
Because Zanzala was a sub, wasn't he?
And that was, and you kind of hope that at that moment it sort of unsettles the penalty taker, who was Zanzala, but he steps up, does a little one of those jinky little run-ups and slots it to the right of Norris, I think, and who's gone the other way. So it's a tidy pen, but at 85 minutes and the way we were, they kind of went to grab the ball and run back to the halfway line, but you never got the sense that there was going to be more goals after that.
Boom. Obviously every Ipswich fan watching from afar goes incoming 3-3, but as Rich says, from in the ground.
Just quickly, Ben, what I was thinking, and my mate Mark was saying exactly the same thing at full time, is what has happened is you've turned a properly dominant, excellent attacking first half performance, and you kind of shat all over it with the second half performance and conceding the goal. And what would have kind of been a good post match, I suspect probably we wouldn't have done the kind of arms in the air or multiple fist pumps or whatever, because it did feel like the second half was a little bit more stale flat. But that Accrington goal kind of did take the sheen off it a little bit, so I think it was quite good for us to kind of restate that it was a dominant performance by getting the fourth, because otherwise I think there would have been people that just applauded at full time and been off, when actually it was a little bit more joyous at full time.
Yeah.
Segue. And Dave, you said Will Keane had been in good form. I remember we actually sat with Rich for this game at Wigan last year, and Keane had got going, and we both said to each other, Richard, just before he got injured, and he's playing really well, and he put the penalty penalty in, and he picked up, and we were like, this guy's getting going. He's getting going now. He's got a bit of momentum. It looks like he's got that again, Dave. He scored in each of the first two of the three games against Coventry. He scored at Lincoln, at Exeter, and now against Accrington. So take me through this Will Keane goal.
It's pretty scrappy, really. It's a scrappy bit of play on the edge of their box, right side of the Accrington box, which the ball really doesn't sort of get cleared properly. I think there's one or two attempts to clear, and then the ball bounces, I think, between sort of Keane and Asali, I think it is, the left-sided sort of centre back midfielder. Great strength. Keane shows really good strength. Sort of shoulders the defender off. Gets the ball, works the ball on his right foot, angle from about 10 yards. lamps it. Keeper just should probably do better, but he hits it quite low. So it's one of those ones where keeper gets quite a bit on it, but the ball bounces underneath him and in. So Rich say that was important. I think to get that fourth goal to put a bit more shine on the gloss on the undercoat.
I'll restate my point from the first half. That's 3 of your forwards and your number 10 have all scored in the same game.
Yeah, and he's now. Seems like he's barely played, but I think he's got 6 goals now.
But this is a really good, keen goal that we're now seeing quite a lot of, and I echo Dave's point about he's really good, keen about getting his body in the way and turning the defender.
Clever.
And then he's turning basically to face goal. It's a couple of touches, and I think the keeper should save this. I think it's the keeper had a pretty poor second half. But Keane's now scoring quite routinely these kind of low shots, these angled shots into the goal, and that's what you want, your sub-scoring goals, don't you? And it was a little bit of a cherry on the top, having
And another little cameo to 15 minutes from Bishop. There was one just.
Well, let's talk about that.
Bit of play where he
let's talk about that, Dave. Just talk to me about. I'll very unfairly call them the injury-prone 3. Talk to me about Keane, Bishop, and Hughes, because I do think Lambert has to take some credit for. He's been so patient with these and not lump them in. I know everyone wants to see Emir Hughes bossing games and being a number 8. They want to see Ted Bishop dribbling past people and Will Keane scoring, every week. But this is one thing about rotation that he's actually been able to do, and
perhaps he's got it right.
Injured again.
Yeah, because Hughes, I think, was certainly the best I've seen Hughes play. I think Hughes, certain games I've seen him, he's been way off the pace, really off the pace. And you think, and he looks a bit. Even yesterday, he looks a bit heavier than he was. And you think, really, so sad as we all, loved him, Ben. I remember the Villa game where we saw, the goal when he first came in, the goal against Newcastle. We know what he's capable of.
Sheffield Wednesday, that return he made and set up Waghorn, I thought, oh God, this guy's
yeah. And you think, you kind of think, is he ever going to get back to what was? And I think yesterday was really good. I think there were certain signs of it, and comfortably, I thought his best game yesterday since he's been back. Look, Bishop, I didn't, I saw highlights and I was listening to it on the radio last week of Exeter, and it seems like, he was almost back straight into it with his trademark driving runs from midfield, committing players, taking players on. And there was one little, he didn't really land on the ball much yesterday, but once he did it yesterday where he just picked the ball up, dropped his shoulder, left a covering midfielder, but then it just slipped this ball wide left, I think, for Garber.
Yeah, because he knocked it through with his weak, because it was a proper 2-footed moment, because he knocked the ball with his standing foot. I think it was so
absolute
instinctive.
Wow, just class. Yeah,
Richard, with I think Hughes is a bit different. With Keane and Bishop, are you happy now for it to be a situation where you've got players coming back where Bishop is just the understudy for Judge for the rest of the season, gets minutes, comes on the sub, and Keane is just the understudy for Jackson for the rest of the season? Now, are you happy with that situation, or can you see one of them breaking him further?
I mean, form is going to come into it. I like to think, part of the keeping the consistent team is that the shirt now belongs to the last person who played that position until they make a mistake. So notwithstanding the kind of form point, Ben, what I would hope is that these players were subbed off at 75 minutes yesterday because they're going to play at Oxford, and we're going to try and keep an unchanged team for Oxford. That would be an ideal situation for me. So I'm quite happy with that situation. I think Bishop, Mick Mills made quite an interesting point, stuff like that. He felt that Bishop maybe was a bit more withdrawn than Judge was in that 10 position, and maybe that was true, and maybe that was deliberate, but I think Bishop maybe needs to learn a little bit what that 10 role is about. I'm quite happy for that. And Keane, I think it's good that we've got 3 strikers now. Jackson's getting back on the score sheet as well. If that needs to rotate a little bit, I'm cool with that. And Keane's, not coming in cold, which he might have been 2 or 3 months ago. So I think that's an example. It's a fair point, Ben, that the rotation's working, and Lambert deserves a bit of credit.
Just incredibly, you look at the table now. A win yesterday. First win in 12, first win in 8 league games, something like that, and we're third with a game in hand on first and second. I mean, it's balmy, really.
I think it's Cov as well who are fourth. If everyone wins the game in hand, it's all the top 4 will have 44. But if they were to be played then. Dave, is Hughes first team ready now and ready for a run in central midfield?
I would say perhaps on yesterday's evidence he is. Like we've said, I'm not quite sure how strong they were yesterday. Just quickly, I had one really nice technical player that I really liked was Finley, the number 8 for them, Sam Finley. I sort of quite enjoyed watching him. Certainly second half, yeah, very neat and tidy player. But yeah, you'd like to think he is. I just think he gives you that, say, aggression. He just gives you more stature, more physicality in there as well. That's not to the detriment of his technical play, because let's face it, very good player. But I think it just gives you more in there. And sort of him alongside Downs, I thought just looked stronger. Yesterday, particular feature for me, we seemed to win every second ball yesterday, pretty much every second ball, which, let's face it, we just haven't been, especially at home, we haven't been doing it. So I just think he just gave you a little bit more in there. And then, as he gets stronger, as he gets fitter, as he gets more match fit, it's just gonna power on. I think I'd like to see.
And in respect of this injured pack, Ben, that you mentioned, this is just waiting for Vincent Young to get fit and take the right hand spot that Edwards has got. Wow. Edwards did all right. He was up against Carvalho yesterday, I think. He was quite a unit. I thought he did all right.
I thought Edwards did all right. I was going to mention Edwards. Yeah, I thought he did.
Get Vincent Young into that team though, and I think that would be attacking brilliance.
Okay.
He says.
Rich, I know this is probably just Lambert deflection, and he is the master politician. But in the press conference yesterday, not quite Mick McCarthy levels of prickly, but very much players win games, not systems or formations. Is he just ring fencing the rotation and trying to just deflect away from that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was trying to do there, because I don't know whether he was criticising some supporters or the press. It seemed to be quite a pointed statement to the press.
He said something weird, didn't he? Did he say, there's people out there just want us to fail?
Yeah. It kind of felt like this is, again, total Ipswich. You put in a really good 90 minutes, you're back into the contention of the top spots in the division, and you come out and do a post-match, I'm not going to pretend that our supporters, and myself included, are not critical, and sometimes it's excessive.
That's all supporters. That's every club. I promise you.
Exactly right. And when we are not as bad as other clubs as well. Let's not pretend that Ipswich fans are the same league as maybe Villa fans or anything like that. And to come out and just taint the kind of performance with a bit of a barb like that, I didn't think it was necessary. And he needs to be a bit contrite, because some of the criticisms that have been levelled at him, quite rightly,
justified.
He's resolved those now, and we've got the result yesterday as a consequence. So just take it, move on. Build bridges.
Don't you think a lot of his aftermatch stuff is very McCarthy-esque, isn't it? It really, if you could put a lot of these comments, you could backdate these like a couple of seasons to McCarthy. I think it's a sort of similar character where he just comes up as like him against the world type thing,
Maybe he's just bored. Maybe he just wants to give us something to talk about.
Or maybe it's just
who cares?
Kind of
after yesterday. I know,
but maybe it's just the kind of underlying nature of the club. There's always this underachievement bubble, and not a lot of winning for quite a lot of years.
Yeah,
so
and if
maybe
we had,
it ends up being that way.
Say it hadn't been so convincing yesterday, and perhaps a draw or even worse, a defeat yesterday. Christ, the knives would have really been out. So I think a bit of a hopefully a turning point yesterday. Settled team, good system, quite nice looking football. Let's carry it on.
Yep.
Let's do some questions. Kevy T, Dave, says, Will Keane has been awesome lately. Should he be a first-choice frontman? If so, who should he replace?
Look, I think Rich made the comment. I think who's got possession of the shirts at the moment? Jackson, Norwood. They both scored yesterday. Norwood now on 10 goals. Yes, he can be wasteful. And perhaps Jackson, we criticise him for his decision making. I think he's playing all right, actually. I think it's great backup. And plus, if one of Jackson and or Norwood are missing there, you've got no qualms of starting them, have you? So good backup at the moment, I see.
ITFC Mark Rich says, did we play well today, or Accrington really poor? Reminder: we haven't beaten one of the top 8 in this league so far. Is that correct?
That's right.
Top 8, I think we were going through that yesterday in the pub.
Sunderland.
We haven't played Oxford yet, so that's one time as well.
Yeah, he's right.
I think he's right.
Rotherham, Wickham, Coventry, Oxford, Sunderland, Portsmouth, Donny, Peterborough.
He's right,
yeah. Down to 10th. I would, in terms of his question, Ben, I'd defer you to my learned gentleman friend. That sounds wrong. I'd do a bit of both. It's a bit of both, that one, isn't it? You know,
bit of both, mate.
I think Accrington, as I said, they were certainly overawed. I think we were better. We came out with the intent, came out to attack, which is exactly what we should do in every home match in this league. I'm not having anyone who says we should try to set up to contain or, you know, defend at home. In League One, we should be looking to win every single bloody match. So yeah, a bit of both there, Ben.
And don't forget, I mean, again, I think it showed up the quality of the division. I mean, they were the form side. I think I did see somewhere they were like on top. Was the last 6-7 games they were the form side, number 1, top, and we were like 27. I mean, that just if that's the form side. And look, if they had injuries, you know, to key players I wasn't aware of, then I'll hold my hands up. But Christ, if they were, and
Dave,
dreadful.
You made the point earlier about, and we can talk about Rotherham were terrible for the start of the season. We've had a massive, horrible run. Wickham have been shocking, and that's the top. Wickham have like 4 defeats in the last 5.
Yeah.
There you go. Quick one. One word answer for this one. Rob asks, which goal was the best? Dave?
Third.
Yeah.
Richard?
Yeah, I'll go third.
He says the first one, so you're both wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say.
That's a good question. All good answers.
Answer.
Both good answers. Mill Valley Blue says, who has been the most impressive opposition player you have seen this season?
Oh, wow. I quite like Samuels for Wickham on New Year's Day.
He's a handful, wasn't he?
But Wickham fans hate him, by the way. I was chatting to a Wickham blogger on Twitter, and their fans are slugging him off. I thought he was excellent against us. Madison was decent, wasn't he, against Peterborough?
Yeah. Shipley, I quite liked. Coventry player, quite liked him. Like I said, I quite like. Not saying he was the best. I quite like that 8 yesterday. That Finley was neat and tight. I'm not saying he was the best, but he caught my eye. But
what do you think about Carvalho, Dave? He was the player that Edwards was up against. I think quite tall, quite direct, quite strong runner. No,
I thought Edwards played him quite well. Really, yeah, he got turned a couple of times. So I thought Edwards played him pretty well. Do you know what? It's a really good question. I am absolutely struggling on that one. Yeah.
Tweet us in at Blue Monday ITFC. Dommy Boy, whose question is it? Yours, Richard?
I'll have it.
Do you think playing a consistent system is finally paying dividends, or just a coincidence? Same team Tuesday? ?
Yeah. Well, so let's be honest. It's 2 games in a row with a consistent selection and consistent formation. So let's see what's coming. But you know, I don't think it's a controversial statement to say, you know, players who are playing week in, week out, again, you know, they'll go back to Harry's covalent bonds and all that stuff. I don't think anyone would suggest that, you know, rotating the team is good when you've got a consistent footing and you know who your partner is going to be. I think that's a good thing. I want to keep the team as consistent as possible. There's going to need to be rotation. You mentioned it last pod, Ben. These 3 game weeks are going to come thick and fast now, so there will be a rotation.
4 of them left, isn't there?
But I'm quite happy if we stick with this 3-5-2 now. I don't see any reason to change it, frankly. And even if we lose, why should we be just chucking our systems up and starting again from scratch? No, you know, you accept you're going to get blips and results and stuff like that. That was probably the biggest issue for me for Lambert back in whenever we lost to Accrington the first time around, and then went through the kind of October-November period. It was just chucked everything up in the air and started again. Let's keep it the same. And Dominic Boy's point, Tuesday I would hope it's the same 11 and it's the same system. Maybe 1 or 2, but yeah, keep it the same.
Yeah, it was Joe's Guinevere, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Lottery machine.
Dave Superfran says, was that our first choice 11? And are we seeing the last of Skews, an essentially McCarthy-type player, good solid container but conservative midfielder, in favour of more progressive central midfield style? Just quickly, Dave, I'll just add to that. For so many years, it's been, we need
steady
Skews, etc.
influence.
And Dave, I heard Jamie Carragher on the telly the other day saying, and quote, "It's the easiest thing in the world to set up defensively. You know, you don't need good players to do it. They don't need to do anything. That it's much, much harder." And obviously, Skews would be man of the match in defensive games, wouldn't he? Nicking the ball away and being in the right place the whole time. But is this is he now a substitute?
I think he probably is. If fitness and suspensions allow. I honestly think perhaps we won't see him that often now. I would think in central midfield there. Like I said, I think he could do a job in League One if we are struggling for cover at the back, as he did I've seen him play last season with Sheffield United away. I thought it was probably one of the best games he had for Ipswich, probably, because he obviously reads the game well. He's got great distribution. In a 3, I had no qualms about perhaps playing him there. But no, I think going forward, certainly football-wise and progressive football-wise, I think perhaps his time has come in central midfield now.
And we've got Dazelle and Nolan when he's back fit, who are probably better attacking players as well. So
more progressive. Yeah, absolutely.
Thomas asks, "Are we the new Sheffield United?" God, I've given my
you can answer that.
Yeah, you've answered that.
To be fair, I think he says, in all seriousness though, is that the formation to stick with? And let's talk about this centre half thing. Is it something that's sustainable? Adding a centre half as an attacker in this just tight as bramble bomb forward type way.
It's not going to work every week, is it?
No.
Yesterday, I think it was fine because Accrington were clearly there for the taking after we scored. I was going to ask you this, Ben. It seems really weird that everyone is kind of lauding this kind of Sheffield United approach that got them back up through the divisions. No one's copied it, have they?
Well, Paul Tisdale tried to do at the start of the season for MK, and he got fired. I think it's just so innovative, and I heard Martin Samuel say, Victor Anopko and Yuri Nikiforov did it for Lokomotiv Moscow 25 years ago or something. But speaking to Ben on the Blades pod, he said that, and Dave said this many times on the pod, that they kind of happened on it, that they just started playing 3 centre halves, and then O'Connell and Basham
evolved,
and then it evolved from there. But they obviously tweaked it and got it to the point where it was so good. Remember how important though Norwood wouldn't step forward, and Egan literally played 20 yards from his goal the whole game. Flex, well. Yeah, and flex rotation, and then the number. And here was the thing: is that the number 10 had to be quite disciplined and move across to either side. And as much as we're enjoying Judge, discipline isn't necessarily his thing. So I just think, Rich, by the time someone develops in their squad to be able to do it, I think the next tactical thing will be, and tactics is always cyclical, and you have to follow and go against what other people are doing. So I think that's possibly why, Rich.
My mate Mark mentioned an article on The Athletic, I think, was kind of what are the football trends that people expect in the 2020s, and centre-backs being attackers or contributing in a more of an attacking sense was one of those trends, because you think about it, full-backs are now attacking players, midfielders and wingers
into central midfield, didn't he?
Yeah.
They would come inside into central midfield. I mean, we're talking about elite players and elite managers. My guess, and Dave will like this, I think we'll be back to 2 up front.
Yeah.
I think we'll be back to 2 up front in due course, because goalkeepers and defenders are now so much. But do you remember the whole reason that the second forward got pulled back with Cantona and Sheringham and players of that nature was to stop the overload in midfield. But now you can take a player out of defence and stop that, and that was the beauty of the Sheffield United way, is that your forwards can play within the width of the box if you've got that. Do you see what I mean? They're doing less. So
and also,
my guess is that you'll get back to 2 up front.
Also, it's down to the quality of the centre-backs you've got, for God's sake, because let's face it, O'Connell and Basham could probably comfortably play in midfield anyway, couldn't they?
Well, you say that. I think it was system over. They weren't just outstanding. Like an Adam Webster, where you'd be like,
you could see, you could ping a 2-footer.
I think that was more on Chris Wilder than Basham or O'Connell. But
when on your 2 up front, Ben, I totally agree, because if you play 1 up front against a 3, your forward is gonna you need the midfield to get around the striker, because otherwise they're isolated. And we've seen that when we've played that way. So 2 up front, I think, to me, puts more danger on the attacking centre backs, because they have more to deal with, don't they? And you can't have one mopping up like we had Wilson yesterday if he's got 2 strikers to deal with. So
just on Sheffield, did you see that McGoldrick stat?
Oh, is he now got there yet?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he's had most shots in Premier League history without scoring, and they love him, don't they? They love him, don't they?
Just going back to the tactical thing, though, this is where I do have to agree with Paul Lambert's curmudgeonly assessment. And I've heard people say before, whatever the systems, whatever the tactics, 90% of teams defend with 3 players and try and use the other 7 as attackers. Whatever the formation is, whoever the players are, you know what I mean? It's kind of kind of set up in that way, but yeah, we'll see. Interesting to chat. Right. Sorry, we had a whole other ton of questions, but we're going long, so we will move on, and I'll quickly round this up because you've said how tight it is at the top. Rotherham get an away win at Oxford. We'll talk about Oxford in a minute. Rotherham go top, 4th win in a row, 10 wins in the last 16 for Paul Warne. We expected him to be up there, didn't we? We are on record as saying that, so that's not me making that up. Sunderland 4, Wycombe 0, 4 defeats and a draw in the last 5. Can you imagine if anyone wasn't capable of beating Wycombe in that run? Who would that be? So Sunderland up to 6th with 3 wins in 4, mobilising. Town in 3rd, obviously. Cov drew 1-1 with MK. They had 1-3 on the bounce, so Cov in good form and with the game in hand. And just to mention, Pompey in 7th, 10 points in the last 5 for them, mobilising, and predictably, even though they weren't there, we all mentioned Rotherham, we all mentioned Sunderland, and we all mentioned Pompey at the start of the season. We did not mention Coventry and Wycombe, but it's starting to kind of pan out that way, indeed. Let's talk about Oxford, because they've brought in a couple of players this week on loan, haven't they? Liam Kelly, who was at Reading, and who was the other one they took? Brown from
Middlesbrough.
West Ham. Had he been on loan at?
I think it was at Borough, was he?
Borough. Yeah,
Borough.
Sure.
So they've added a couple in there. Rich, we will both be at this game, so very much looking forward to it. They've been in good form. What's your feeling on Tuesday night at Oxford?
It's going to be a toughie, isn't it? And to me, Coventry and Oxford are the teams that are kind of due a blip, and maybe we're starting to see it with Oxford. I've got a mate who supports Oxford, and last season the league has kind of flipped around. Last season, League One, there were maybe 12 or 13 teams that could have been relegated in March, and then suddenly it all condensed down. And now you've rotated it around, basically anywhere down to 12th might get in the playoffs. To me, Oxford were in that bottom half last season. There was a good chance that with a run of results went against them, they could have got relegated. And my mate was not big on Carl Robinson. And suddenly they've turned it around. So I wonder whether that is sustainable. They clearly attack well. It's going to be tough, but they're on a bad run of form. We've won at the right time. It could be interesting. It could be quite a tight game, that one, Ben. I think maybe a couple of weeks ago I'd have been going with a lot of apprehension, but a little bit more confidence after yesterday.
Quite free scoring, weren't they?
And what should our approach be, Dave?
Are you bombing Chambers and Wolfenden forward?
Yeah, I don't see that. I see a more pragmatic approach. So, look, I like to think we'd go with the same.
We were the new Sheffield United after one game.
For one game only. I think I'd like us, as we've said, to go with the same side. Keep that continuity. Keep it tight. Try and nick a goal. Look, I think I'd say it. We haven't said this recently. I think get with the games coming up. Tranmere away at the weekend to take a point.
Please say it. You're totally right. You're absolutely 100% right. You know me and my 3-game weeks. You get 6 points from a 3-game week, great. If you get 7, excellent. 9, but you're looking at. I know, Rich, you hate the rotation and all of that, and I'm not suggesting a rotation. But if it was a point at Oxford, and then you could go to Tranmere for 7 points from the 3-game week, then considering where we've come from with the. Without a win.
Probably be up to second. We're probably back in automatic if that happens.
I'd say that.
You would think we're 4th for the next 2, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I don't know who the others have got. There we go. So, look, we will, as I said, be Rich and I will be at Oxford. Dave?
Can I just mention? I think we're perhaps remiss, or we missed it last week. A big shout out to the Ipswich women's team for that brilliant win in the cup. I think people say we didn't mention the women's team.
It hadn't happened.
It hadn't happened yet. So, I think we had a big shout out. I think they got a fairly crappy draw. Is it Huddersfield away?
Huddersfield away, sorry, yeah.
Huddersfield away, something like that. I mean, crappy draw is great, isn't it? And I think I just saw a tweet, I think from Joe or someone, to say that, give them a mention, they got their first league game of 2020 away.
This sums up podcasting, though, Dave. We didn't mention it. And we got pelters for not mentioning it when it hadn't happened. Then I tweeted saying, "Okay, fair dues," and then we got accused of being hipsters.
I know.
Great,
2020.
You can't win. We can't win, but no, great result for them.
Lovely stuff. Right, so Oxford on Tuesday. I can't remember who's on the pod. We did book it. I'll be on Wednesday. Rich,
maybe us and Mikey, isn't it? We might do it on Thursday so we can get Mikey available.
Get the Mikey on.
I'm on GB's show on Wednesday, I think.
Oh, are you? Awesome.
Yeah.
So check out Dave on Naked Footy on Wednesday. Dave, anything to plug? Anything to say? Any words of wisdom? Let it be.
Not really. I'm just going to go in the office tomorrow and firing up the Think Wok.
Is it non-stick, Richard?
It has to be. You need
Has
to.
to be.
If
Right,
you,
but
what you need
stir
to do is
fry.
fry quite a lot of stuff in it, and then you get a good coating on the bottom of it, and it just makes the ideas taste a lot better when they come out of it.
Has to be loose.
Yeah.
Loose and
Plenty of oil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think what? There we go. Right. Say goodbye, Rich.
Can I do some plugs?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go on, Rich.
So, follow us on Instagram. Blue Monday Pod Team, all one word. I think if you go searching for that, we've got photos.
There's a picture of the Renegade Statman with Danny
Statman
Haynes
and Haynes
yesterday.
Until he said, I would never have guessed who that was.
What, Stat?
I knew Danny Haynes.
Stat?
Yeah, I knew Danny
He
Haynes.
is the man of mystery, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our YouTube channel has moved as well, so make sure you update your subscriptions when we post the link out later on. And you can find me at Ipswich.
Yeah, I didn't think. I just assumed that when we moved the YouTube channel, everyone would just get the link from Twitter. But there's been a few messages go into the old YouTube channel going, "Where's the pod? Where's the pod? You haven't done one for 3 weeks." And it's like, yeah, we've done 17 in the last 3 weeks. They're just over here. So yeah, keep up over there. And we will see you all very soon. Say goodbye, Dave.
Cheers, guys.
Say goodbye, Richard.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me and the Think Walk.